I think it's pretty amazing that while everybody is busy, that last week, Reb Gedalia, what was on his mind? Avi, we got to do something for the parents. We got to go ahead and give them a good time, not just another group, but a little chill and some food and some time to just relax. Isn't that a beautiful thing? It's unbelievable. Thank you. So Gedalia decides to do something, and the team springs into action, and they're just unbelievable. The whole team, Shlomi and Henech and Gingy, and all the women who are involved, and it's just really beautiful. I think it's a testimony to what you're all about. The Havas Yisrael that you have is unbelievable. Caring about other people, and just it's very inspiring to me. The Kruller Rebbe told me a vart, and he told me to share it with the Olam. I was waiting for the right opportunity. I think now is the right time. The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Beis says, Noitel Adam es benoi v'ha even biyadoi. Let's say there's a kid, and he's holding an even, a stone, a rock, which is muktzah. A person is allowed to go ahead and take his son, even though the son is holding something muktzah. The Gemara says, Amad debei Rabbi Yanai, b'tinek sheyesh loi gaguim el aviv. We're not just talking about going over to a kid and picking him up. Why are you picking up the kid? He's playing with his stone. Why do you have to pick him up? So the Gemara explains, why can you pick him up? Because we're talking about a child that has gaguim, yearning for his father. And that's why he's allowed to pick up the child who's holding the stone, even though you're normally not allowed to do that, because you're not allowed to pick up something which is connected to something muktzah. But if the child has gaguim el aviv, yearning for his father, the little kid is saying, I want you to pick me up. You pick him up. Rashi explains, B'tinek sheyesh le gaguim shel aviv, she'im lo yetlanu yichla. If you're not going to take him, he's going to get sick. V'lo hamidu tiltul sheloi biyadayim b'makim sakana. So there's a halacha that says that you're not allowed to carry something without your hands, but that halacha is not in the case of sakana. So all of a sudden Rashi takes this to a whole new level. All that's happening here is a kid is saying, Tati, pick me up. And Rashi says, wait, if you're not going to pick up the kid who is yearning for a connection, he's yearning for his father, all of a sudden there's a new word, yichla. Anybody ever go to a hospital and see somebody who's sick and you say, what's his sickness? He was, longing for his father. His father didn't pick him up. What kind of sickness is that? And Rashi takes it to the next level. Yichla b'makim sakana, he says. V'lo yamidu tiltu shloi b'yadayim b'makim sakana. What's the sakana? Says Rashi, V'af agav delav sakanas nefesh gemura. Even though there's no sakanas nefesh, he's not going to die physically. Ela sakanas chayli. There's a sakana that he'll get sick. What kind of a sickness? Not a physical illness, an emotional illness. I think really that the Rebbe showed this Gemara is showing us probably one of the earliest times that we see that Chazal and the Torah care if somebody's going to have an emotional pain and recognizes that a child who has needs, and we're not going to pick him up because the Torah doesn't let, because we're not allowed to pick up something connected tiltu shloi b'yadayim, and the Torah says, hang on. For that Isser, we're going to take that off. Why? Because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It can cause a child to have a machla. And that sickness can cause him to be in sakana. Wow. Says the Rebbe. The Rebbe said that the truth is that deep down every single child has a deep longing to be held close and hugged and loved and cherished and accepted and supported by his father and mother. And even the angry and rebellious children are really deep down longing and yearning to be held close by their parents. There is no therapist in the world that can heal a child as much as his mother and father's hugs. And the Rebbe continued, that's the message of the Gemara. If you have a child holding something which is muktzah, something is not supposed to hold, something that we don't hold of, like an iPhone, like drugs, or even worse, he's holding in the mashal, the Mishnah says he's holding a stone. A stone is something that's a dangerous weapon. He could hurt somebody. He could throw it at somebody. Or if he is stoned. The parents should pick him up. This means to raise him up, to build his self-esteem, to lift him up, hold him close to you. Otherwise, the rejection of not being held is mamash sakana. I think that's really what you parents are doing. With tremendous, tremendous dedication, tremendous mesiras nefesh, I think I have a little bit of a bird's eye view of what's going on in each of your lives. And the mesiras nefesh that you have is just unbelievable. People cannot fathom, people cannot imagine, people cannot believe. The Novominsker Rebbe told me, I cannot believe what your parents are doing to save their children. The dedication to go out of your comfort zones, the dedication to go out of, spending money that you have to collect to save your kids and to hug them. Now, we know that this Gemara is true. We know that there are kids whose sickness comes from that they're yearning for love, they're dying for acceptance. The psych wards are full of those kids. And you parents are saving your kids from that. B'li ayin hara, we've never put a kid in a psych ward because of the tension with parents. That's something remarkable. How many kids do we have that when you came to me had illnesses, diagnosed mental illnesses from anxiety, depression, bipolar? How does that disappear in 2-3 years' time? What's going on here? So I think that we have to look up at the Gedolim who understand what Chayla Nefesh is. When I was by Reb Gershon Edelstein Shlita Zayin Gesund, and I told him, what about the kids that are suffering from Chayla Nefesh, which is emotional, psychological illness? And right away, his first thing that he told me was, yeah, if the kid feels a chanish kantata, a chanish kamama, of course he's going to be emotionally ill. The kid feels, I don't have a mother, I don't have a father. Now, why do they feel like that? Because they're acting out, something pushes them, they act rebellious, they act defiant, and the normal parenting is, well, if you're going to act that way, you're not going to have mommy and daddy. That causes a lot, maybe even most, of the mental illness that we're seeing. All of a sudden, Jewish kids who grew up in our homes are in the psych wards, are mentally ill, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. I get calls almost every day. It breaks my heart. Yeah, the kid was, he was diagnosed for this and diagnosed for that, and so therefore, we told him you have to behave, and he couldn't behave, so we called the police and Atzala and Shomrim. So we see, and we know more than anybody, that the dedication of parents is everything. You are the respirator. As long as the respirator is connected and you don't let anything cause it to disconnect, there's always hope. I want to give you hope. And really, you can only talk privately over here, just among friends. Hope. Just this week. Hope. This family from Canada that came to me 6 years ago with a child, Chassidish boy, who was so off the derech. Not just a little, so off the derech. Addicted to terrible things, plus addicted to drugs. Selling drugs. All kinds of bad stuff. Machalal, everything. And the parents, of course, so it's a brachen. They came to me, and Baruch Hashem, I showed them what our mahalach is all about. They said, well, until now, we were advised by the therapist, and by the psychologist, and by the psychiatrist, and by the... I said, okay, it's your choice, but that didn't work. So they started doing TP. At that time, 5-6 years ago, there was someone in the community, one of the father's friends, who befriended this boy. And he saw how messed up he is. Totally messed up. He was buying drugs, selling drugs, doing drugs. It was terrible. Fast forward with tremendous yata d'shmaya that we've seen so many times. The boy became frum. The boy is clean, became stable. And he put together his life in such a level. He's so erlich. He goes to the mikveh every day. He learns, he's going to go to a Yeridea koil. He's a tremendous nachas to his parents. He says, Mami, Tati, I'm ready for shidduchim. But I don't want to marry somebody who's messed up. I was messed up, but I'm not anymore. I want to be sitting and learning in koil for 20 years, and I want a girl who doesn't have any taste from the street. I want to have a pure girl, an innocent girl. And he's talking and talking about what he wants. And the parents are thinking, wow, you're nuts. What normal girl would ever want to marry you with your history? The Eibishter could do anything. And I think it comes from the dedication of the parents. It's mamish unbelievable. Kerachim of like you, al banim, kein terachem Hashem aleinu. This kid was in shul, and this father's friend, who remembered this kid from a few years ago, someone in the community, he bumped into him, and he was shocked. He says, you? How are you? What's doing? And he schmoozed with him, and schmoozed, and schmoozed, and he went arois fun kelim. He went out of his mind for this boy. And he said to him, I want you to be my son-in-law. That's what he said. And the kid's like, okay, what? He called the father, said, I want our kids to get married. I know my daughter, I see your son. What a hero. What godless Adam to go from that to where he is today. Such strength of character. That's what I want as my son-in-law. Then he had to go home and break it to his daughter. So I was thinking about the Gemara of Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Right? Rish Lakish was a robber, and he's basically attacking Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan says to him, if you'll do tshuva, I'll let you marry my sister. I want to be at that table by the supper. Hey sis, I got some good news and bad news. You're getting married. He has a lot of potential. Anyway, so the father couldn't believe this, what's happening. Anyway, so the father goes home and he tells his daughter, listen, I want you to go on a date with this boy. And I want to tell you about him. Tells all his milas. And she says, oh, sounds very good. Yeah, he may have had a little bit of a history. He did a little bit of drugs, nothing major, a couple of years, cocaine. He sold drugs for a living, so we know he can be a good businessman one day. And he starts talking about the history, and the girl is, Tati, what are you, crazy? Why would I want to go out with a guy like that? He said, just go out. They went out. The first date went well. The second date went better. And the third date went better. And the chasana is in a few weeks. A girl who had no history. We're not all going to be zeicha to every miracle, but there's somebody here in the room who has a brother who was part of TP 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and this week, last week, got engaged to a girl also. Amazing. No history, never off the derech. This boy I knew 7 years ago, he came to Home Sweet Home, and he didn't get in. Do you know what you have to be like to not get into Home Sweet Home? He was not with us. He was a total coke addict. In those days, wasn't so much heroin around. He was gone. He was looking at the floor. He weighed like 90 pounds. He wasn't there. This boy today is Shomer Torah Mitzvahs. He's an Erlicha boy. He's marrying a regular Erlicha girl. And we have lots on both sides, from the girls and the boys, a lot to be thankful for. The point is not that, okay, sign up here and this is going to happen to all of you. The point is that you can never give up hope. There was a boy who came to Home Sweet Home 10 years ago. There was a boy who came to Home Sweet Home 10 years ago. From 13, he went off the derech, a Borough Park boy. By 17, he was already in a few psych wards, a few rehabs, and he shmad. He was Christian. He already was finished with that phase, Baruch Hashem. He had tattoos, and he moved into Home Sweet Home. I was at his chasana 2 years ago in Ataras Avram, where he married a girl who was a friend of mine's daughter, was in the class of the girl, no history. It's unbelievable. I met the father a few months ago. They just had a baby boy, and Baruch Hashem, they're doing great. So I just want to tell you, we have to do ours. We have to go in a mahalach that can work. Baruch Hashem, we have over 85 TP kids today who are Shomer Torah Mitzvahs. And that's not what we're all about, because when you come to me, we just first want them to be alive. I think you need to be alive to be Shomer Torah Mitzvahs, right? Alive, happy, clean, safe, successful, stable, Yismach Leiv Mavakshi Hashem. So the Eibush will help him. that every single person should be zeicha to see miracles. Miracles. You deserve it. Just for your mesiras nefesh, just for what you're doing. At the very least, your mom is standing up against the world to save your child. And you should be zeicha to all see a lot of Yiddish nachas from your kids.